Death blow. Death blow. Death blow.
I'm W.
And I'm A from Scitalis, and you're listening to Death
you are
Blow
listening to
podcast.
Death Blow podcast.
Hello guys, this is me, Darkel, and welcome to another episode of Death Blow podcast. Subscribe, like and share my episodes and click on the bell to be notified with new videos. Spotify and Apple Podcast for the audio version, and don't forget to even follow me there. Instagram, Facebook and TikTok for more updates and news. Today I present you a Swedish band that I had the incredible honor to interview. Their name is Scitalis and their black metal sound is very unique. Stay tuned for the rest of the interview. Hello!
Hello.
Welcome Scitalis band, and it's an honor that you are here with me today. I present myself, I am Darkel, and this is Death Blow podcast. Welcome guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
How are you going guys?
Yes, all good here.
What I want to say is that Scitalis is a very important name. What does it mean exactly? And why did you choose this name for a band, guys?
When I started this band, we was searching through a lot of different band names and what we should call the band, and I found this medieval text that was about this ancient serpent, shivering snake, and I really enjoyed the name, and so we said we should use it.
This new record is entitled Maledictum. What can you say about this record?
So yeah, of course, obviously it's our newest album. We released it last Friday, and we had the release show here in our hometown. But generally, what we could say, I mean, it's called Maledictum, and I think we came up with the name sort of like in a similar way that we came up with the band name. I mean, we were just thinking about like researching and trying to find, names that of course sound good but also have a good meaning in itself.
And maledictum means curse in Latin, and this album is some kind of way concept album about the witch trial in Swedish history, and we thought that was a good
A good fit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I like is the mystery about the members' names. You only use your initials. I find this genial. Is it easy for you guys to maintain the anonymity?
It's not actually that's the main point to be anonymous. It's more like we are just preachers of our music. So our names and stuff like that doesn't really matter. The person behind the music is not as important as
the person who presents the music.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So in a way you remind me like a Quarton of Battery that wanted to maintain that anonymity. So it just wanted to play the music in a way without... so I think it's the same concept you guys are saying.
I would say so, yeah. Yeah. At least somewhat similar.
Exactly, and we want to do... It also have to do with the live shows that we want to, make a good live show instead of just, this is me, look at me. It's more like we let the music talk for us instead of the personality.
The album structure is very fast and dark. How was to record this album in a studio?
I suppose I could start. I'm the drummer of the band, and I can speak for myself only. But for me, I mean, it was the first album that I recorded, at least personally, like full-length album. And of course, that's a challenge when you do something like that for the first time. But overall, I enjoyed it very much. It was very cool. We We recorded it at Malmö Productions here in Umeå in the north of Sweden. But it was both challenging and also very, very helpful for a musician, I would say. So fun and challenging.
I couldn't agree more. It's a really fast and melodic album, so it's a lot of fast parts and melodic parts, so it takes a lot to record it. So it was a challenge, but we are really proud of the outcome of the album.
Yeah, and a lot of like technicalities, you could say. I mean, we spent, but I think that we did that in sort of a good way, because we came there very prepared.
Exactly.
So we had been practicing the songs and doing all of that work beforehand. So when we actually went into the studio, we knew what we were doing. We knew the tracks. We knew everything. So it was rather fast to the recording. I think it took us like maybe 2 days, 1.5 days, something like that, to record it.
Exactly, for every part. So.
Yeah.
What can you tell me, guys, about the lyrics of this record?
This album is about witch trials in Sweden, like I mentioned before. And also not a concept album, more like we also always use very much mysterious way to describe feelings and metaphorically speaking about subjects. So it's more like trying to tell a story without telling a story, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah, and there is a common theme among all the songs. So it's not a concept album per se, but I mean, in some way you could perhaps describe it as a concept album if you want to just see it from that perspective, that it's the same theme throughout the entire album.
Exactly, it has this red thread throughout the album. So
yeah.
What are your influences in general, both for this album and personally?
I can say, I mean, we can start with the album itself, which of course stems from personal influences, I would say. We are four different personal musicians that have created this album. So in the recording process and in the writing process and everything, your personal like views and reflections of what music is really shines through, I would say. But for me, it was, at least when it came to the drums, I mean, I listened to a lot of fast-paced music. I listened to a lot of black metal, but also other genres, death metal and such. So finding some sort of like harmony between what's interesting, but also what's challenging, and what we believe is good music that people want to listen to, our fans, you could say.
And what about the dissonance? For example, I noticed that you used a lot of dissonance in this album. What can you tell me more about these guitar structures?
The guitarist is not here right now, because he is the one who composed all the guitar parts, so I can't actually speak for him how he produced those.
I understand. But anyway, let me tell you that it's very well done from what I've heard.
Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Nice to hear.
How did you start to work with Vendetta Records?
Firstly, we started recording demos and sent it out to some labels, and we're very picky with the label who we want to represent our music. And Vendetta Record we had heard a lot of good things about, and we really wanted to collaborate with a really good label. That's because we choose to reach out to Vendetta Records, and he really liked the music from the start, so we got in touch with him and start working together.
Yeah, and I think I can say there that, I mean, he believed in the music from the beginning. So we have continued to believe in him in that sense, and we've been extremely satisfied with how our relationship with Vendetta and with this guy who runs Vendetta, with how he runs his business. So he's a super nice guy, and he's easy to do business with. He's a gentleman.
And you started this band around the pandemic time. Did you notice changes in the metal scene between before and after the pandemic? And this helped you in a way?
I must say, when you start a band in the middle of a pandemic, there was a lot of, you have time to rehearse a lot and write music and, just looking for a brighter future. Because under the pandemic, there was no shows, there was nothing like that at all. So when after the pandemic was over, then you just can go out and play. And that's what we are trying to do as much as possible now, with a lot of tours and shows. So
that's fantastic, by the way, to keep playing live, and despite the pandemic, it's really important for artists, don't you think?
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, for sure.
Have you had the chance to play live with also important Swedish black metal bands?
Yeah, I mean, we played some shows both in Sweden, but also in Europe in general. A couple of shows in Poland and Germany and these countries, Czech Republic, Norway. So I mean, at some of these festivals, for example, Walpurgisnacht, there have been sort of like major bands, and I mean, when we played in or the festivals that we have played in Sweden and bigger concerts overall, there has been some quote bigger Swedish bands as well. I mean, House of Metal here in our hometown in Umeå, they have some really big bands, and other shows as well.
Exactly, we played with Naglfar at this House of Metal festival, for example.
Yeah.
And last Friday, through the album release, we had the old Bewitched, a band from Umeå. So
yeah, so loads of different bands, but not just Swedish, other bands as well, German bands, Polish bands.
That's
exactly.
fabulous.
No problem. When we are out on touring so far, we quite like to have local support bands. So it's really good to help them out, and they help us out, and it's I really like to build up contact with smaller bands and help them out, and they help us, and I like the build up part. So
yeah, and you meet some super nice guys when you are out on tour and when you do gigs throughout the world. You meet people that have the same interests as yourself, people who are trying to achieve the same goals that you are trying to achieve. That is to grow as a band and other like black metal bands and metal bands overall. So you meet some super nice guys, and you make these relationships, and you get in contact with these people that can help you out in the future, and that you can help out as well. That's nice.
That's very good to establish this community between the different bands and try to help each other. And the fact that you have been even in the House of Metal, guys, is wonderful. I really respect that. Yeah, I think it's amazing what you did.
Yeah. Thank you. It means a lot.
Do you think that black metal is a sort of therapy for you guys?
I'd say at least that it's a very great interest, at least. I guess in some way you could think of it as a therapy, of course, but it's a great interest, at least. It's something that we really enjoy doing. We like it a lot, so that's why we do it.
I agree.
I would say, yeah.
And when you have a bad day and you can go to rehearsal and scream, that's a relief as well. So
yeah, yeah, exactly.
What about this cover art for this album?
The cover art.
Yes.
Yeah, sure. We reached out to Misanthropic Art. He's really big in this album cover, and we really appreciate his both his style and his
Ideology,
exactly. So
what he stands for.
exactly. So I think that was a main part we reached out to him. So and yeah, the concept album once again is some kind of this female suffering throughout the history, and especially this witch trials stuff. And he really portrayed the way I was imagining the cover. So
Yeah, he did a great job with that. When we reached out to him in the beginning, we wanted him to sort of portray what Albin just explained. I mean, that is the theme of the album, like female suffering, and we wanted the general theme to be much about like blood, because of course, you know, blood shed throughout history and stuff. So female suffering and the color red, of course, from the quote blood. So we were really happy with how he portrayed our you could say demands, but what we wanted him to do, basically. So it came out great.
What are the plans for this year? Will you continue to play live like you are doing now?
Yes, exactly. So have another tour still in planning stage for June, that will take place in the Baltics and Finland.
together with some really great bands that we have been playing with before.
Yeah.
Yeah, how is the scene in Sweden? Because there are so many bands that come from there. So how do you perceive this Swedish scene?
I must say the Swedish scene is kind of hard to get into, or it's like hard to get the venues to open up and let us play there. So it's easier for us to just go up on a tour in Europe instead of a tour in Sweden, because of it's kind of hard to play and get in there too.
Yeah, I would say the same there. I agree with Albin. So at least we found it that way, that it's easier to get gigs, to get shows, and to reach out to venues and festivals and such in Europe, mainly in Poland and Germany. So that's something that we have encountered. Of course, if there was a very like big black metal market, you could say, in Sweden, of course it would be logistically speaking, it would be easier for us to conduct the shows here. But at the same time, I think it's good that you go out on these tours and you experience these things and you reach out to other countries and the people that live in these other countries, because I mean, the further you go away from your hometown, I mean, that's probably a good thing. So that's what we found, at least.
Yeah, exactly. And I think some part maybe have to do with that we are on a German label. So
Yeah.
that maybe also some kind of
Contributing factor.
Exactly. We are not on a Swedish label, so maybe that has something to do with it as well.
Yeah.
It's particular because I never expected that the Swedish scene would have been difficult as well, like because we tend to think, especially south of Europe, we tend to think that Sweden is a very big country about metal. So that's why I was asking this question. Well, it is interesting, by the way.
Yeah, definitely. I was actually rather surprised myself when I joined the band, you could say, that there wasn't more happening, you know, perhaps in the black metal scene in Sweden. But I think that it also perhaps has to do with that the underground scene perhaps is bigger in, for example, Germany and Poland. I mean, you have some really huge black metal bands and metal bands overall from Sweden. But I would say that the underground culture and the underground scene is not as big in Sweden as it is in these other countries.
Where the people could listen to your band? Spotify or where?
Spotify, yes, that's a good example. But I mean, you can also, of course, buy the record from our Bandcamp.
You can also listen from Bandcamp
Yeah,
and YouTube, and I think it's on the most of the streaming platforms. So
yeah, all the major platforms, basically.
Right now we are at the end of this interview. Say something to finish the interview, something that I forgot to ask that you want to say to the public.
I can begin there. So come to one of the gigs if it's nearby you. I think it's going to be enjoyable.
I agree. It's we're more of a, if you like the music on the album, you must experience it live, because we have a the show is really extreme, and we really want to preach out our message from the scene instead of from an album. So if you have the time to see the show, go to the show.
The music really comes alive when we play it live.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys. It's been a nice pleasure, and best wishes for this tour that is coming. All the best from me and Deathblow Podcast.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you around. Thank you.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
And that's all for this episode of Deathblow Podcast. Subscribe, like and share my episodes, and click on the bell to be notified with new videos. Spotify and Apple Podcast for the audio version, and don't forget to even follow me there. Instagram, Facebook and TikTok for more updates and news. See you soon, guys!